Welcome to the Longest Take podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the Longest Take podcast. In today's episode, we are joined by Alessia Devecchi, writer, director, filmmaker, visionary, and explore her projects such as Crowe and Toska and her upcoming 2025 short film, Samuel Flint and the Magpie Gang. All right, well, to kick this off, I always try to kick it off with this question, but what are your top 5 favorite movies? And if you like to read, you have a top 5 of favorite books. I see you got a bookshelf behind you there.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Okay, so I kind of tried to prepare a list of my favorite movies, but it's always changing.
Right.
I recently found out about, I didn't really know about Letterboxd, so I'm such a fake filmmaker and I hadn't made an account. But I made one a little while back, and I think the only review on it is for the movie 9 by Shane Acker. You know that one?
Is that the animated one?
Yeah, the animated one.
Yeah.
With the creepy dolls. That is, I'll tell people that's my favorite movie because I was like obsessed with it forever. So definitely that one. District 9. District 9's a great one. I love Neil Blomkamp's movies. They're like super gritty and like, I don't know, the sci-fi is just really interesting and it feels real. Shoot, there's 2. Nope, by Jordan Peele.
No way, that's in my Letterboxd top 4 actually.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
that's like one of my favorite movies of all time. I've seen it so many times.
Can I just quickly say like how beautifully it's shot? Just like Hoyt Van Hoyten, I think his name is. Just the way that everything is like, it's beautiful.
Yeah. No, like you could pause it at any point. You're like, wow, this is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But like you go on and on. I love Jordan Peele, but that is his best movie.
His magnum opus for sure.
Yeah. So far, we'll see what he does next. I'm excited.
Me too.
Oh shoot. Lady Bird. I really like Lady Bird. That's definitely in my top 5.
Greta Gerwig, right?
Yep. I love Greta Gerwig.
Awesome.
I'm a huge Greta Gerwig fan. I love Lady Bird. That one really hurt. So that's on the list. Have you seen The Farewell? I like that one a lot.
Yes. Oh my god,
Yes.
what a great Awkwafina performance.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect that from Awkwafina, but I love that one.
There's there's that scene closer to the end where she like kind of breaks down in front of her mom. That's like, I would have given her the Oscar just for that scene alone. It was
no, like the scene where she's talking about her grandpa and like, you know, how she hadn't seen him forever and she's like, it doesn't feel, I was like, wow. I had to pause and I'm like,
yeah, what does she say? She's like he's not there, he's just like not there anymore.
Yeah, like he's just gone. Well, because like, I kind of went through something similar with, so half my family lives overseas in Italy, and my grandfather, he passed away and while we were gone. And so it's just like he was there and then we left and then we came back and he was just gone. And I was watching that scene and I was like, that hurts. But it was, I would not expect that kind of performance from Awkwafina, but oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was 5, right? I think 9, District 9.
Yeah, I think so.
Lady Bird and The Farewell. Yes.
Perfect.
Sorry, I get so sidetracked. I just start talking.
Yeah. But hey, that's what makes the best out of any type of these episodes, right? Just, you know, that's what it's for, just talking. And then what about books?
So I actually haven't been able to do a lot of reading lately because I have to do a lot of writing and I have to do a lot of like film stuff. And I also work full time as a waitress, so there's not really a lot of time for me to sit down and read.
Right.
Obviously, I have to mention my mom is an author and she has some really good like horror thriller books. One is the only one that's out right now is A Whisper in the Dark, but I think the next one is A Twist of the Lens. Those are, I might be biased, but they're pretty good. They're pretty good. But before that, I was like obsessed with Lois Duncan books. Have you heard of Lois Duncan?
I don't think so.
She wrote. Okay, so you know the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yeah.
It is very, very loosely based on one of her books.
Oh, no way.
But yeah, I grew up reading those, and they're like mystery, supernatural, thriller kind of horror books. I haven't read a good book in a long time, but like I haven't been able to just sit down and read, but Lois Duncan's definitely up there.
Cool. You could always try audiobooks. I know sometimes it's hard to get into, but it helps when you're commuting to work. Like you could get a little bit each time while you're driving or something.
I feel like I'd go insane though.
yeah, true. And you did a teaser for one of your mom's books, right?
Yeah, that was for A Whisper in the Dark.
Very cool. Yeah, not biased at all. You know.
Yeah, no, not biased at all. Yeah. No, she is actually a phenomenal writer.
That's awesome. So it runs in the family then. That's very cool.
Yeah, storytelling is in my blood.
Yeah. Has she ever tried to get you to like, I guess, or does she talk to you about like possibly adapting one of her books?
All the time.
Really?
Like, we'll like go out and she'll introduce me to people and she's like, this is my daughter, she's gonna turn my book into a movie. And I'm like, oh yeah, once I get like a studio to back it.
Right.
Because adapting books I've heard is really difficult. But.
Yeah, so do you know Cormac McCarthy?
That sounds so familiar. Oh no.
He did No Country for Old Men.
Yep.
The Road.
I was like,
his two most recent before he passed was Stella Maris and The Passenger. Stella Maris is just a conversation between a psychiatrist and the main character. That's the type of book that's like the easiest to adapt because the dialogue's already there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's all dialogue.
That's like the best case scenario right there.
Yeah.
But you'll get there one day and you'll be able to be like, this one's for you, Mom. Right?
Yeah. Just got to meet some big actors first.
Right. Make sure you get like all the resources necessary. What kind of books are they? They're horror, but like.
Yeah. So A Whisper in the Dark, it's like a supernatural horror, like a monster book.
Oh.
Yeah, it's cool. My chair's creaking.
All good. Yeah, that sounds similar to Toska, right? It's another little creature feature thing going on. But yeah, does she do audiobooks at all or just print?
I think one of her books is becoming an audiobook soon. Okay. But I'm not sure. I don't think it's out yet, but it will be.
Yeah. I'll keep it on my radar because I'd love to check those out. I love to read / listen. My friend always gives me shit because he says that like audiobooks aren't reading. And I always tell him, I'm like, okay, I'm doing both though. Like, yeah, I just time, like I don't have a lot of time, so there's not that luxury. So I got to do what I can to get through the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and then if you're driving, it's not like you can hold a book in front of your face, but you can put in your little headphone and listen to an audiobook.
Exactly. Exactly. So moving on to this next question here. So sound is imperative to making a feature feel professional. So just walk me through the sound design process for Toska specifically. And, you know, just, I guess, like who did the sound? Where did the design come from? And also I want to know how you did the creature, not voice, but noises.
Yeah, like the roaring and stuff. Yeah. So it was a really tiny crew. The entire post-production was literally just me and my friend Pierre, who does all my music composing for all of my other stuff. And so it was a lot of just emailing back and forth. Like we would call and he'd ask like, okay, like what are you going for? And then I would just kind of explain it to him as best as I could. And he also did the music too. So he did the music and all the Foley. And this is kind of the first film that I had to do where it was mostly post-production sound design because like there's monsters and swords and like, so we had to do a lot of like creating sounds from stuff that wouldn't normally make a sound. Cause like we had the actress in the monster suit, like making noises. She was kind of like roaring and growling, but obviously like, we're not going to just have like a woman just like hissing into the microphone. So yeah, really the entire sound process was Pierre would record some Foley, and I kept saying like, I can do some Foley too, and I couldn't find my microphone, so he did all the Foley recordings and would send it to me, be like, is this good? And I'd send him back for some notes. But the monster sound it's actually funny you should ask that, because that's one of my favorite parts about this movie was the monster sounds. So when we were before we shot it, I spoke with Lee, she was in the monster costume, and I was kind of running some ideas past her, like what would this thing sound like? And she told me like, I think it was like bobcat screams. And I was thinking like elk bugles, because it's like these haunting kind of really high pitched sounds. And I kind of told that to Pierre, and he did his thing. But there's one monster scream that I wanted the most input on. I put together some sounds and I sent it to him. I was like, can you put this in the movie? And he put it in there, and I believe it's the scream that happens when she first hears the monster. Like she's at her camp and then she kind of looks up, and that one is actually, so I've spoken about this before when I talk about Toska, how the story started out just like super simple, like, oh, it's a hunter hunting a monster, and then that's it. There was no dialogue. And then the story morphed because around the time I was writing it, I escaped an abusive relationship, and it was like there were like, you know, cops involved, the university was involved, it was a mess. And I had recorded, like the night that I tried to leave, I recorded because I was afraid.
Right.
And he screamed like really, really loud, and like it was traumatic, obviously, but now it's been like, this was a good processing way for me. I took that scream and I just layered an elk bugle over it, and I sent it to Pierre, and then later on he actually told me, he's like, wait, that was a person? Like, it does not sound like a person.
Wow.
But that was like my way of, I guess, coping, was like, okay, you're this monster now, and I'm going to put you in the movie and then be done with you forever. So yeah. That is a very, very simplified version, but I thought that was cool because I sent in the sound and he didn't know that was a person. Like, he was like, oh, I just thought you layered some animals over each other. And
right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but, you know, I'm glad to hear that you were able to get out. And there's some catharsis there with this process.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm glad you were able to, like, you know, healthily kind of get yourself to that. But yeah, maybe that's why, like, that gravitated towards me, because there's something about that sound that feels like, I don't know, it's just like, yeah, but still, like, yeah, that's very interesting. And staying on the monster, because I love monsters, not the real life monster. Despise them. Don't know who they are, but, you know, forget them. But what kind of lore were you, like, tapping into with it? Did you create a backstory for this creature? Is there, like, I don't know, I got kind of Norse mythology vibes just because there was snow everywhere. But yeah, just kind of like, where did all that come from?
So it actually came from, I based it mostly on the Wendigo, and I'm like, when people watched it, they were like, oh, is it a Wendigo? And I was like, it could be.
Yeah.
So because the backstory, that it didn't have a backstory originally, and then I was thinking about it as I was changing the story, and I was like, what if the monster used to be a person, and it's somebody that the main character knows, and that's why she was so obsessed with destroying it. And so, like, I was like, Wendigos, the whole lore of that is that they're people that, like, resort to cannibalism, and once they consume human flesh, they turn into these, like, distorted monsters. And, like, Until Dawn was great. That's a great video game, but, like, those aren't really how Wendigos are pictured. So, like, they have, like, the, you know, deer skulls and the big antlers. But so yeah, it was mostly kind of based on a Wendigo. I had a meeting with Lee, because she's a taxidermist, so she's showing me all these different skulls, lining them up, and like, okay, do you want these horns on it? Do you want these antlers? And we kind of went through like it was always more of like a goat skull to me. We kind of went through different skull designs. There were some like wolf skulls, but I felt like the teeth were a bit too, like, it was too immediately, like, I don't know, predatory. And so I thought that, like, using the like herbivore skull, it just spoke to me a bit more. But yeah, it was mostly kind of based on a Wendigo. And then the whole story, like the aesthetic was also kind of like pulled a little bit from Norse design, and like the dress and like all of the clothing that they're wearing is like very much like Viking clothing. But yeah, the monster is mostly based on the myth of the Wendigo.
Nice. And that's awesome.
Answer.
You don't see a lot of Wendigo stories. Stephen Graham Jones wrote a book called The Only Good Indians, and that had a Wendigo in it, but that's just something that outside of that, in like Until Dawn, for instance, you don't see it too often. So I think that's amazing to have that as like the inspiration there. And I noticed one of the heads in their little cabin is made to look like another like mythical little creature. I think it's got like the horns and like, the teeth or something. Was that just supposed to be like a subtle, like, kind of like world building in a sense?
Yeah, like, so Lee, that's actually what she makes. She makes monster taxidermy. But so
that's so cool.
I was like, I asked her for, like, you know, can we have some bones and pelts to dress the set to show that this person is like an experienced hunter? And then she kind of rolled up with these, like, hey, do you want these on the wall too? And like just pulled out these big taxidermied heads, and there's like the kind of like Satan looking goat, and then the one with the viper fangs and like the snake tongue. And so it was she just kind of rolled up with those and was like, do you want these in the set? And I said, yes, please. And because it really adds to the world building, plus they're really cool to look at.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that was an awesome touch to have.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked a little bit about like the time period and just inspirations like Viking times and whatnot. Between this and Crowe, you're a big fan of period pieces so far.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw or read somewhere that your next thing you're doing is like it's growing on Crowe, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're making
it's like pretty cool.
Yeah, fleshing out that Western style story. So is that your goal, to be kind of like a Robert Eggers, where it's like he said he doesn't want any cars in his movies, he wants everything to just be like back in the day sometime? What gravitates you towards period pieces?
I think it's honestly like the freedom that comes with writing that, because like I don't know, I feel like the modern contemporary world that we live in is so limiting, and when I'm writing to escape. And so I was obsessed with the Wild West when I was a little kid. And I mean, I still kind of am, like the concept of just like these sprawling landscapes, like untouched by man, and like I don't know, you could just ride your horse wherever you want, kind of thing. I always loved stuff like that, and I just can't write things that are like in the current real world. Because I don't know, like I don't want to write about somebody who's like me. I want to write about people who are in more, I guess, maybe like life or death situations. Like the Wild West is very, like, it's dramatic, and it's also like, I don't know, the core of like big films where like it was westerns, everybody loved westerns, and yeah, it's just like less limiting. I think I would do stuff like with cars, so I don't think I'd be exactly like
Right.
Eggers, but I just like genre pieces. So like period pieces, I've been writing like some sci-fis. I just like the freedom of it, and also not having phones incorporated is really nice.
Yeah, it also helps with like plot devices. It's like, oh, the heroes can't just Google what to do, because that doesn't exist right now.
Yeah. It just kind of sets the stage for a lot more drama, and like no matter what you're writing, like what era you're writing in, like humans stay the same. So like you still get the same, like you can relate to the characters, but they don't have to be like living in a crowded little apartment or something.
Right. Yeah. Do you have a favorite Western movie?
Ooh, I like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. Robert Redford and Paul Newman.
Yeah, I respect that.
I had a teacher who was obsessed with those two actors, and so he made us watch all of those movies. And I that one just really stuck with me. That one and True Grit. I love True Grit. The story, because it's a story about a woman. Not a lot of westerns center around women.
Yeah, so that's for sure. Did you like the Coen Brothers remake?
Yes, I did like that one. That was the first one I saw, actually. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then you kind of watch the original, and I have a lot of cowboys that come into the restaurant I work at, and they keep giving me longer lists. They hear I'm making a Western. They're like, you can't make a Western right. Watch this and this and this and this.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Once Upon a Time in the West?
No, I haven't.
So ignore all the other lists. Watch that one.
Is that one? Okay.
Because it was written by Dario Argento, who's like known for his giallo like horror movies from back in the day, but he wrote a Western. So it's like it's watch that one, please. That's my favorite Western.
I will. Putting that one at the top of the list, because they'll kick my ass if I don't watch those movies.
right. But yeah, very, very cool. So between so you've worked on 2 projects, correct?
Well, yeah.
What were some of the largest obstacles, and how did you overcome those?
So the shoot days are always so stressful, no matter like how small the project is, how small the crew is. And like with my style of directing and my visual style, I really love to use natural lighting and to shoot outside. And obviously weather is a huge obstacle. But then like, I don't know, you just kind of have to power through. It's not something you can really like change, or I guess, I don't know, like the weather's gonna be whatever it is that day, and most of the time you can't reschedule because you're on a tight schedule in the first place. But then with Crowe, like the first day we shot, it started pouring rain. Like there was a huge thunderstorm that started rolling in. We only had 4 hours to shoot the first sequence. And so that was really stressful. And we were thinking like, we'll have to do reshoots tomorrow. We looked back at the footage. We're like, oh, it looks kind of good when they're standing out, like lined up in the pouring rain. And then, yeah, I mean, so far, like there haven't been like huge challenges. Like with Toska, we had like beautiful sunny days and like the snow reflected the light perfectly. So we didn't have to use like any handheld lights or anything. And then with Samuel Flint, which is the other project that I just did, it was really, really hot because we shot it in Texas and it's so bright and the shadows kept moving, but color grading and DaVinci Resolve is fantastic for that. So yeah, all of the challenges during the shooting were pretty easy to power through. Like you just kind of have to freak out, power through it, and then hope for the best. And then, I mean, as far as post goes, I do all my own editing, and my biggest challenge there is being content with my work enough to finish it and put it out.
Right.
But I found a system where I obsess over a sequence, then I step away from it for like a couple days, go back, look at it again, and then send it out to my friends like, what do you think of this? And then they'll tell me it's good, and I'm like, okay, it's good. It's, yeah, most of the challenges just come from me.
That's fair. I could relate to that. Do you have any contingencies for like your equipment when it comes to being in like rain or snow? Have you ever damaged anything, or are you guys pretty safe about your equipment?
I have not damaged anything yet. I need to knock on wood for that.
Yeah.
But we haven't worked with a whole lot of equipment. Like I think Crowe was, or no, Samuel Flint was the most equipment we've worked with, and those were all rentals. So it was stressful, but we didn't break anything. We didn't break anything at all. And as far as like rain, we rented a tent and we would just put it over the camera, keep the camera under there, move the entire tent setup when it was raining. And it was kind of a pain in the ass, but it was worth not damaging that camera because it was a red camera for Crowe. So that would have been a very expensive repair job.
Yeah. Did you rent it?
So that was when I was in school. So that was in the school's equipment lab. So
lucky, that's awesome.
It was so great. But no, then with Toska, my friend who shot it, Simon, he owned the camera. So it was just his camera that he brought with him. So I was like, yes, cheaping out.
Yeah, doing what you can, right? Making the best with what you got. But no, that's cool. And I like that you appreciate natural lighting, because some of my favorite movies, like The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick, for instance, a lot of it relies on that natural lighting. And I think there's something that doesn't look so artificial when you utilize it. But I did this short a couple weeks ago, and it was a oneer, and it was all just talking. But each take, there was always something wrong with the light, because the sun has to be perfect. And it's funny because it makes me think of that scene in Nope when they get that first shot with the IMAX camera, and then Antler's host or whatever, he's like, light's perfect or whatever. Yeah. And he goes up.
Yeah, it's like, why are you doing that? No.
Yeah.
Oh, that scene frustrated me so much.
I know, but like, you know, being more involved with it now, it's like, dude, I kind of get it, man. Like,
yeah. It's like, man, when you're that involved, like, it's just second nature. You're like, I gotta get this shot.
Yeah. So when you're able to get lucky with the sun, I mean, that's like an alleviation of so much stress about, you know, shooting what you can. And especially like your location. So Colorado, at least for like Toska, for instance, you've got so much like beautiful scenery out there. You got the mountains and stuff. Like, I'm in Illinois, where it's like mostly just like plains and like,
yeah, I lived in Indiana for a bit. There's not a lot out there.
Yeah. Where at in Indiana?
I was in Fort Wayne.
Okay. Yeah, because where I actually work, it's right by Hammond, Indiana, so it's a little like northwest.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I work with, you know, some of them come from Fort Wayne or like some other areas down there, so you get it.
Yeah, no, I get it. The Midwest is the Midwest.
There's a reason that there's like so many serial killers that come out of the Midwest.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, you get lost in those cornfields, you lose your mind.
Yep, absolutely.
And it was actually, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to,
No, yeah, go ahead.
it was actually the location, because when I wrote it, I was living in Texas, and then I was thinking like, man, I'm probably not going to get to shoot this because we don't get snow, we just get sheets of ice. But then I moved to Colorado because my parents moved to Colorado, so I was like, okay, moved up with them after I graduated because rent is so high.
Yeah.
And I looked outside and I was looking at the mountains and I was like, I could totally shoot this movie here because like it's gorgeous. And I met my friend James, who produced, and he was the dead body in the beginning. And I was like telling him like, hey, I kind of want to make this movie, and like I'm looking around, it's nice. And then he kind of put it all together for me. But yeah, it really came together because I was looking outside and I was like, I can't not make this movie here.
Right, you gotta take advantage of that scenery, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Where do you see yourself in the next like 5 years or so? I mean, this could be like professionally, personally, whatever. Just like, do you think that far out? I mean, like if someone like right now were to just ask you, where do you see yourself then?
See, I don't really do well when I think that, like when I think ahead, because I kind of do things in the moment. Like the farthest out I've planned is like a few months for a shoot. But I don't know, like I don't really think about that. Like I hope, so my goal right now is to make one film every year. So I had Crowe in 2023, Toska in 2024, and then Samuel Flint's coming out in 2025. So hopefully by then I'll have 5 more projects. And I'll have 5 more projects and hopefully a feature, because I'm writing a few features. Maybe I'll see my name in a screenwriter's credit somewhere way along the line in a bigger project. I've got a few series that I'm writing. I've got, I think, 2 episodes out of a 7-episode miniseries I want to make. And yeah, so I don't know. I just want to get out as many projects as possible, and just I'm hoping for the best.
Right, just keep moving.
Yeah,
keep yourself busy too. Samuel Flint, that's another short then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually a proof of concept for a feature that I'm writing.
Oh, very
but
cool.
Yeah, I mentioned that a lot. We actually were able to raise $2,000 to make that one. But yeah, so I wanted to write so I have a big plan for the Western, because I had this story that I've been working on since high school. So I just it all started when I was just thinking about like, man, it would be cool like to have a Western around a woman like either seeking revenge for her husband or like going to break her like outlaw husband out of jail. And I was like, that would be a cool story to follow. And then it became something really big because Irving and Lita, the characters in Crowe, were side characters in that story. Then I was like, I want to learn more about them. So I wrote that story. And then I'm kind of working my way backwards so that I can go all the way with that. But I want to make a film and then a series of that. So hopefully that comes in the next 5-ish years.
Yeah, I think releasing Samuel Flint's gonna help. Do you have a projected release date for that?
Sometime in May, we're hoping, because our composer Pierre, he has the opportunity to use an orchestra, and he was like, why not just go big with this? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we're waiting for that to happen. That'll happen sometime in April, and hopefully the short's out by May.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And just you talking about it, the fact that like what draws you to the story is like the characters first and then like everything else after. I think that's important, and that gets lost in translation sometimes. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more about that. Yeah, so that's what I had for my questions. Sorry, I don't want to feel like this was like too short or whatever.
I talked plenty to pad it out.
Yeah. But just, you know, for some last stuff to talk about, I mean, is there anything else, any other types of projects or things you're doing that you'd want to plug here? Are you still crowdfunding?
Not currently, but keep an eye out on Kickstarter. It's just my name, but yeah, I'm trying to, I don't know, this is kind of my relaxing year where everything's in post-production and I don't have to worry about shooting anything for a bit. But I'm writing have written a sci-fi horror short. I'm writing a series, so, you know, just keep an eye on what I'm going to be entering that one in a few screenplay contests, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. What kind of sci-fi horror is it? What do you like? Not to give it away, but just in the ballpark, yeah. Like what kind of story is it? Because I love sci-fi horror.
Yeah, it is. How do I say this without like giving anything away? How do you feel about cosmic horror? Like,
oh, I love it.
It's kind of like that, but it's like a woman completely isolated on a planet, a dead planet, and there's someone else there.
Wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like kind of like the little log line, like, we have to rely on someone who shouldn't be there to survive. But yeah, cosmic horror, things out of your understanding, that kind of beat.
Yeah, H.P. Lovecraft. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh my gosh, I love that one.
Nope is even cosmic horror.
Yeah.
I mean, the design, especially at the end, like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, with like I don't even know how to describe it, like kind of tentacles or whatever. Like, I can't remember. Did they say they based it on a cuttlefish, I think?
I think so. It was something along those lines. But there's this movie I saw called Prospect. I think it's from like 2019 or something. Might have it somewhere else, but their movie is based on like a different planet, but they just filmed in a national forest in Washington. But if you get a chance to check that one out, I think it's a really good example of how you could like make just normal surrounding environment kind of look alien. It definitely does a good job at it too. It looks immaculate.
Well, there's so many places like on Earth that don't look like they're on Earth. Yeah, when I wrote the screenplay, I was thinking about the volcanic beaches in Iceland, like the black sand and the black cliffs, and like, because that doesn't look like it should be here.
Right. Yeah. That I think they filmed some of that in Prometheus. At least in like the beginning or something. Those sprawling, like you said, like kind of black rocks and whatever. But awesome. Yeah, I love sci-fi horror. So
yeah, I'm kind of delving into more genres as we speak. So
yeah, any genre stuff. I mean, like the communities are always great. Like horror community, for instance, they're so supportive and so excited about everything. But like, you know, sci-fi, whatever, there's always like a really loyal fan base just to the genre, not even to specific films. And, yeah, you don't get that just by like making dramas sometimes, right? Like it's really cool.
The drama fan base are all depressed.
Yeah, basically.
I say that I am a drama fan.
Yeah, some of my favorites are dramas. Yeah, very, very cool. When you saved up 2,000 crowdfunding, correct? What did you do to kind of like get that going? And was there anything in particular that you guys did to get crowdfunding and donations, or was it like you created a link and you just shared it a bunch of times?
So I made a Kickstarter, and like I tried to use Seed and Spark before, but I didn't. That one doesn't really have as much outreach. The Kickstarter format, you have to make a pitch video and then add a bunch of information about it. So I like put together a video, recorded a voiceover, and then I cut that up and I made it into Instagram reels, and I posted those and shared them over and over and over. All my cast and crew shared them over and over and over. And then my mom was in her like writers group posting it, and we managed. And it was really scary because with Kickstarter, you don't get any of the money if you don't reach a certain goal.
Right.
You made a little bit over too, so that was great.
That's awesome.
I'm having to market anything too, so that was frightening.
It feels that like every aspect of filmmaking, there's going to be varying levels of anxiety, like no matter what, whether it's the shoot day, how post is going to go, even like pre-production. I mean, everything. It's just like, what can I freak out about right now?
Yeah, no. And I'm such an anxious person. I think right before we shot Samuel Flynn, I kept thinking about all the ways it could possibly go wrong, and I went basically catatonic on my friend's couch, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I can't move." But we did it, so it's fine.
Yeah, see, it was a success, you know. All that for nothing.
I do my best work when I'm stressed out.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Subconsciously, your body's like, all right, I'm gonna freak out right now, but because I know it's gonna get you where we need to be.
Yes. I wish it wouldn't do that though.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling. But there's always a silver lining.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anything else you'd like to say? It's funny because the first episode I did was with 2 people, so it was like twice as long to answer different
Yeah.
questions. So doing like one-on-one, it like feels kind of weird almost because it's like
Mhm.
the dynamic's different. So
Yeah. I wish most of my crew weren't in Texas. I would have gotten them all out here. We could make this like 7 times long.
yeah, there we go. 7 hour episode.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Um, but sorry if you hear anything. I have a
Oh, no,
5-year-old.
it's okay.
He likes to make a lot of noise.
I have 2 little brothers.
How old are they?
Well, now they're my baby brothers, but now one of them is almost 21 and the other one just turned 16. But
Wow.
they were little once.
Yeah.
They were loud.
Yeah, I definitely relate.
Hear me right now, and he's mad.
Yeah, I feel that. But Alessia, this was great. I really enjoyed speaking with you. Your projects are so interesting because I'm very biased when it comes to creature features. I love a good monster, and I also am partial to westerns. I didn't mention my favorites, but like Once Upon a Time in the West and Good and Bad the Ugly. Sergio Leone, he's perfect.
Yeah.
So it's really great that like that's kind of what you're looking at now, and you're in a perfect spot just being out west, whether you're in Colorado or Texas. I feel like any of those areas are ripe for some like beautiful like western cinematography. So
Oh yeah, I've already been scouting out places.
yeah, and I really can't wait to watch your next one, Samuel Flint. I'm gonna rewatch Crowe just because you said it connects, right? It's gonna be a prequel to that.
Yeah, it's so in Crowe, there's that character, they say his name once, his name is Samuel. He's kind of like that evil guy who like kind of smirks as he's holding the gun. It's his story.
Okay.
So like doing his villain origin story.
Very cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. That's gonna be great. And yeah, I look forward to just seeing what else you could come up with. You seem very very diverse in what you're capturing with genre. Yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty great. Thank you so much to talking.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Of course.